3 spine-chilling true stories of haunted dreams that exposed sinister secrets and cursed realities. Sarah jolted awake, her heart racing, as the echo of Mrs. Jenkins' desperate plea flooded her mind. The elderly woman, known for her garden and gossip, had become a ghost of her once vibrant self. Why was she back? The faint glow of the streetlights sliced through her window, casting eerie shadows on the walls of their cozy Ohio home. She still felt trapped in that nightmare, a vision where Mrs. Jenkins appeared like a wisp of smoke, urging her to see what lay beneath the surface of their quiet neighborhood. Was it exhaustion, a figment of her overworked imagination, or something darker? "Mommy?" A small voice drifted from the corner of the room. It was Lily, her wide eyes reflecting shadows that danced across the walls. "I saw them again. The shadows. They want to tell you something." Sarah's breath caught in her throat as Lily cringed closer. "They whisper the bad things. The things about Mrs. Jenkins." The joyfully mundane world Sarah had cultivated for her daughter suddenly felt like sand slipping through her fingers. Days blurred into nights filled with restless dreams of hidden secrets and despair. Each time she closed her eyes, Mrs. Jenkins appeared, her frail hands reaching out, trying desperately to grasp reality. The whispers twisted around Sarah, filling her ears with chilling tales of death that the town seemed too eager to forget. Each morning, the normalcy of the diner brought an illusion of safety. Yet now, friendly faces wore strained smiles, as if they were recycling pleasantries to mask something rotten in their midst. Even Officer Thompson's once comforting presence turned cold whenever their eyes met. He watched her too closely, and though he promised to protect the neighborhood, his words now felt like thin shadows of reassurance. Then it happened. In a chaotic whirl during her late-night shift, the flickering diner lights illuminated a flyer that froze her blood. A local single mother had vanished, gone without a trace. Panic clawed at Sarah's insides as she recalled her dreams, now tangled with unsettling reality. She felt abandoned by the police when she approached them for help. Their polite indifference gnawed at her like weeds in the garden. "We'll handle it, ma'am," they reassured her. But their eyes told a different story, one of concern finally spilling over onto the truth. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue now." Everything felt like a sprawling web of sinister connections, the invisible threads tying her dreams to the haunting whispers in her home. The thought of not knowing who to trust kept her awake at night. As she paced her kitchen, each creak of the floorboard echoed warnings in her mind. She was spinning closer to the edge of something terrible, and the closer she got to the truth, the tighter the grip of fear held her. Just as she wrestled with the decision to confront Officer Thompson, a chilling knock rapped at the door, sending icy shivers through her veins. Opening it, she found Lily, clutching her doll, eyes glazed with terror. "Mommy," she breathed. "The shadows told me you can't go out tonight." The cold wind whistled through the cracks as Sarah's heart raced with dread. What were these shadows? What truth did they hold about their neighborhood? She felt their whispering urgency, drawing her deeper into darkness as they threatened to pull her down into the unknown. The truth loomed just beyond reach, leaving her breathless and desperate for escape. What horrors lurked in the heart of her familiar suburban sanctuary? Sarah stepped back from the door, her mind racing. Without thinking, she grabbed Lilia's hand, urgency driving her to find safety. The shadows outside swayed, an unsettling dance of darkness that promised chaos. "We'll stay inside tonight, sweetie," she whispered, trying to sound brave. Though her voice trembled, they settled into the living room, its worn-out couch suddenly feeling like a flimsy barrier against the encroaching gloom. Sarah turned on the television, the flickering screen a feeble attempt to drown out her thoughts. News anchors droned on about the missing mother, their faces bent under the weight of grim reports. images of lost smiles reflected on the screen. A cold sweat broke over Sarah as she realized. Wasn't that the woman who lived just a few streets away? How had she missed this? Mommy, the shadows, they don't like the light, Lily murmured. Her gaze trained on the window where the streetlight flickered erratically, casting deranged shadows that wiggled and writhed outside. Then we'll just have to keep them out, Sarah said, bolstered by a flicker of defiance. She grabbed a flashlight from the kitchen drawer and pointed it toward the window, the beams slicing through the darkness outside. She scanned the area, the yard, the fence line, her heart racing, thumping louder than before. But the beam revealed nothing. Just the eerie stillness of the night. Just shadows, or were they? Moments passed, stretching like elastic. With each breath, fears and glimpses of those haunting dreams clawed into her mind. Whispers of betrayal, echoes of lost lives. It's just a dream, she repeated silently, trying to ground herself. Then came the sound, a soft tapping, almost unnoticeable at first. Lily tensed, her small body coiling into a ball against the couch. They're coming, she whispered, her voice tinged with a dread that sent chills racing down Sarah's spine. Who's coming, honey? Sarah asked, trying to keep her voice steady, though it quaked like the light outside. The shadows, Lily replied, her eyes wide, reflecting the flashlight's beam with a terrifying clarity. They have Mrs. Jenkins and they want you with each heartbeat. The taps grew louder, more insistent. A rhythm, someone or something at the door. Gathering her courage, Sarah crept cautiously toward the sound. The tapping morphed into a frantic knocking, and her heart thundered in response. Outside, looming shadows moved like specters, shifting and flowing against the dim light. She reached for the doorknob, pulse racing, uncertainty mingling with fear. Don't open it, Lily screamed, the force of her voice jolting Sarah. The command was clear, a child's prophecy, piercing through the tense air. But something primal pushed her. Sarah swung the door open, the overwhelming dark doorframe looming like an invitation to hell. The cold air rushed in, forming a palpable figure before her. Answer the whispers, came a voice, strained and otherworldly. It crawled under Sarah's skin, wickedly familiar. It was Mrs. Jenkins. The ghostly figure stood revealed, translucent and shimmering, eyes hollow and pleading. You must see. As the wind howled, Sarah felt a pull toward that tormented form, a frayed string tying her to the dark secrets she had tried to ignore. Behind her, she could hear Lily sobbing softly. She had opened the door too wide. The shadowy figures were no longer just threats. They were spirits, lost, and hungry for the truth. Mommy, the shadows, Lily gasped, with just a single heartbeat left to decide. Sarah was faced with an impossible choice: the truth about the shadows, Mrs. Jenkins, and the terror lurking in their neighborhood, or safety within the deceptive light of her home. You must choose, Sarah. The shadow beckoned, its voice a spine-chilling whisper that promised enlightenment or despair. How far would she go to uncover the nightmare behind her dreams? As the darkness coiled around her, the answer loomed like the shadows at her back. Would she dare step fully into the unknown? The wind howled, rattling the windows as the ghostly figure of Mrs. Jenkins hovered at the threshold. You must see echoed in Sarah's mind, wrapping around her thoughts like a vine choking the light. Panic surged through her, but curiosity gnawed like a hungry beast. Mommy, please, Lily's voice pierced through the haze of dread. The child's eyes were wide, glistening with unshed tears, searching desperately for assurance amidst the chaos. Wait, just wait, Sarah said, torn between the need to shield her daughter and the crumbling walls of her own fear. Yet the shadows behind Mrs. Jenkins churned and twisted, forming shapes that felt ominously close to reality. They whispered her name, a hiss of temptation laced with malice. Sarah, the shadows beckoned, their tones smooth, like velvet tinged with poison. We are not here to harm. We only need your help. Would she assist them? Could she bear the weight of their requests? Mommy, don't, Lily shouted again. But it was too late. Sarah found herself stepping forward, compelled by an invisible force that drew her to the apparition. What do you want? She asked, feeling the shadows swirl closer, brushing against her as Mrs. Jenkins gestured with an ethereal hand. The neighborhood is tainted by ties long cast aside, buried secrets that must breathe. Mrs. Jenkins' voice quavered like autumn leaves rustling in the wind. Help me free the lost. They will lead you to the truth and you will understand. A shiver cascaded down Sarah's spine. The truth? What truth? But she felt a strange connection to the spirit, an echo of their shared past binding them together. What happened to Mrs. Jenkins? Before she could articulate her thoughts, Lily pulled at her sleeve, her tiny fingers trembling with intensity. Mommy, don't listen. They're lying. But Sarah's heart raced with an amalgamation of terror and intrigue. She had to know. All the pieces from the news reports flashed in her mind: the missing women, whispers in the night, the guilty glances of neighbors. What had happened to their neighborhood? Suddenly, the shadows thickened, swirling faster, forcing gusts of cold air through the house. You must decide now, the figure urged, shimmering with urgency. Stop! Sarah shouted, the depth of her fear clawing at her throat. What if I refuse? A dark chuckle rumbled from the shadows, hauntingly familiar yet unbearably foreign. Then the cycle will continue. The whispers will grow louder, and the lost will seek not your help, but your despair. As the chilling realization hit her, she could see Lily's breath misting in the air. The flashlight flickered, the light dimming further, battling against the engulfing darkness. Mommy! Lily cried out, backing away as the shadows elongated, their fingers reaching for her. Sarah's heart raced, collapsing under the weight of urgency and dread. I'll help! I'll help! She yelled, voice loud against shaking walls. Tell me what to do. The shadows stopped, a stillness enveloping the room, suffocating and thick. Follow the path. But no, once entered, there is no return without a sacrifice. A facade of hope glimmered in Sarah's chest. She could save them. But what lay on the other side of this choice was a darkness so profound she could hardly bear to think about it. Lily started to scream, her voice cutting through the silence, a desperate plea echoing through the room. Mommy! No! Don't let them in! The sound pierced the atmosphere, striking hard against Sarah's heart. Then it all shifted. The shadows spiraled, a maelstrom of voices rising, crashing around her. The boundaries of her home warred with an approaching storm. Would she risk it all for the truth, or retreat into safety, leaving the lost to their fate? With the weight of her daughter's fear behind her, Sarah stood at the precipice, eyes wide, realizing the shadows whispered something more sinister than either of them understood. Just then, the lights flickered once more, plunging them into darkness. And within that darkness, she thought she saw shapes moving beyond the glass, figures lingering in the shadows, every face, a haunting echo of the past. Make your choice, they whispered as a new chill swept through the room. What secrets waited in the shadows, and what would they demand in return? The air turned brittle as Sarah stood there, frozen in a thick coating of dread. Shadows curled and laughed, a mocking chorus enveloping her. She could sense Lily's panic wrapping tighter around her heart, but the shadows pulsed with life, demanding her attention. Mommy, please! Lily's voice trembled, the innocence piercing through the cold, clammy air. It felt as if the very fabric of reality was ripping. Come back. We can get away from here. But something in Sarah's chest clawed at her for answers, pushing out feelings of fear. The pale figure of Mrs. Jenkins dissolved into a swirl of mist, fading yet beckoning with urgency. Follow the path echoed in her ears, more insistent now. What path? Sarah shouted into the darkness, desperation lacing her tone. What do you mean? The shadows began to part, creating a narrow, winding path leading out of sight. Anxiety twisted at her mind. If she stepped into the unknown, what would she find? Yet, against her better judgment, her feet propelled her onward. She could feel Lily's grip slipping, fear gnawing at them both. Sarah walked. The chilling sensation of being watched enveloped her. With every step, shadows danced around her feet like smoldering ash. You must hurry. A voice cooed, seductive and soft, crawling up her spine. before they take what's yours. The house around them creaked and groaned. The walls whispered secrets, their voices low and conspiratorial, echoing the stories of the missing. Sarah clenched her fists, realizing that each step was pulling her deeper into a web spun of terror and despair. Images began to flash before her eyes. Women in the neighborhood, their faces contorted in fear, their eyes wide with hopelessness. She recognized them friends, neighbors, each one a fleeting shadow. "What happened to you?" she whispered, half in hope, half in despair. The air grew heavy, thickening with sorrow and despair. "They are lost, Sarah." Mrs. Jenkins' whispered voice returned, winding around her again. "And all who know must remember what transpired. The darkness must be fed so the light can shine." Before Sarah could catch her breath, a scream erupted from behind her. "Lily!" The sound pierced through the shadows, sharp and abrupt. Fear coursed through Sarah as she turned back. "Mommy, please, it's behind you." Lily's eyes were gigantic saucers of terror, fixated on something just beyond Sarah's shoulder. Racing back, she felt the cold wind whip past her, the shadows clawing at her skin. "Get away from her!" she cried out, a surge of protectiveness flooding her veins. But the air thickened, and figures emerged from the darkness. They were indistinct, faceless embodiments of despair, reaching out as if yearning for relief. Their whispers crescendoed into a cacophony, each lament tearing at Sarah's heart. They pleaded for release, for vengeance, dark desires swirling around her like a tempest. "Make your sacrifice," the voices urged, echoing through her mind, drowning out Lily's terrified cries. "To free the lost, you must give no." Sarah screamed, desperation clawing at her throat. She couldn't understand what was being asked of her. Would she have to sacrifice her daughter? Her sanity? A blinding flash of light cut through the darkness, revealing the faces of countless lost souls trapped in anguish. They drifted in and out of view, a grotesque parade of yearning. And then silence. The darkness pulled back, allowing Sarah to breathe for a moment. But she knew better now. This was not a choice. It was a trap, one they had been building for ages. Lily's face, pale with shock, was all that anchored her to sanity. But they were running out of time. The whispers beckoned once more, a promise that was anything but innocent. "Join us, and you will know truth like never before." Sarah grabbed Lily's hand, feeling the warmth radiate through her daughter's small fingers. They had to escape. But as she turned to flee, the shadows lunged back, twisting and squeezing as if replaying the last moments of those lost. Could she keep her daughter from the darkness, or would the weight of the past pull them both into hell? In that moment of chaos, a single thought rang clear. What are they willing to take to save the ones they love? As the shadows roared back, dark and hungry, Sarah realized the echoes of sacrifice had only just begun. What price would they pay to escape the clutches of the haunted past? Would the truth be worth the cost? Lily's grip tightened around Sarah's fingers, her small hand trembling as the shadows crashed forward, a wave of despair ready to swallow them whole. Sarah could feel her heart pounding in her chest, each beat echoing the urgency of their plight. "Run," she gasped, shoving her daughter ahead, instinct kicking in as fear gripped her throat like a vice. They stumbled down the path, now being suffocated by a creeping fog that seeped from the ground. It snaked around their ankles, crawling upwards. "Mommy, Mommy," Lily whimpered, glancing back, eyes wild with panic. "Keep going," Sarah urged, dragging her daughter onward. The whispers were growing louder, clawing at the edges of her mind, sinister and inviting all at once. "Make your choice, give them what they want." "No," Sarah screamed, shaking her head, desperate to drown out the beckoning. But it was too late to shut out the promises wrapped in silk and shadow. She could feel it. The darkness held a strange allure, as though it offered a way to understand all the pain around her, a key to unlock souls trapped in torment. With each step, the ground shifted beneath them. Wails filled the air, mournful cries that clawed at the very essence of her being. "Mommy," Lily begged, her voice breaking through the cacophony, stronger than the shadows. "Don't listen. Just keep going." They pushed deeper into the unknown, surrounded by an ever-thickening veil of darkness. Sarah's mind raced. There had to be a way out, but every instinct screamed that the darkness had plans for them. The very walls of the house began to pulsate, black veins throbbing as if the structure were alive, feeding on their fear. Suddenly, they stumbled into a clearing lit by an unnatural glow. It pooled like liquid beneath a gnarled tree whose branches clawed at the void. At the base of the tree sat figures, resembling the lost souls she had glimpsed moments before. Only now they were solid. Their faces twisted in anguish, eyes hollow sockets that bore into her with desperate longing. "Help us," one whispered, the sound a melodic promise hiding stitches of pain. "You can save us." "Sarah, don't listen," Lily begged, the tremor of her voice rising and falling like the swell of a storm. Sarah felt torn, caught in a web of emotion. Did she possess the strength to withstand what they offered? The chance to free anyone from this still-breathing nightmare? "I know you're scared," another pleaded, her voice thick with sorrow, "but we're the echoes of your past. We know the darkness, we can teach you." "No," Sarah shouted, closing her eyes and shaking her head. A bead of cold sweat trickled down her temple as panic threatened to swallow her. She focused on Lily, grounding herself in her daughter's presence. They turned to leave, but a force held them back, a chilling grip that tightened around Sarah's wrist, pulling her back toward the figures, the glimmer of lost souls fading behind the overpowering dread. "You can't escape, you belong to the darkness now." "Mommy!" Lily screamed, the words slicing through the dissonance. And then, everything went still. The shadows hushed and the figures froze. A weight descended as air became thick with an unsettling calm. Sarah felt an icy finger trailing down her spine, whispering secrets that none should hear, truths bound in heartache and darkness. "Tell us what you desire," the voice cooed. It was a promise stitched with nightmares. Garden of horrors sprouted in her mind, thoughts of sacrifice, visions of relinquishing the very essence of their love for a chance at freedom. "What do you want?" Sarah's voice broke, carrying a tremor of fear and defiance. But she couldn't let go. They had come too far. Everything. The whispers encircled them once more, a chorus of collective despair. Or nothing. Sarah and Lily stood on the precipice of a choice that would bind them, tethering their fate to the shadows. But what could she offer that would free them both? As the tree creaked ominously overhead, Sarah felt the weight of a decision looming large against the darkness that writhed and twisted around them. What would it cost to free their souls from this land of despair? Would she dare make the ultimate sacrifice? A heartbeat paused, and in the fragile silence, darkness began to swirl once more, humming with an eager hunger. A flicker of light pierced the dense fog, momentarily pushing back the shadows. It seemed almost like a lifeline, fragile yet inviting. Sarah's breath hitched as she pulled Lily closer, whispering assurances. "We can't listen to them, baby. We have to stay strong." But the echoes were relentless, a chorus of despair resonating in everyone's bones. Each voice seemed to twist reality, stabbing at the very fabric of her will. Lily clung to her mother, eyes wide with terror, her small frame trembling. "Mommy, they're not real," Lily cried, but the question dripped with uncertainty. The figures began to shift, their bodies distorting as they moved closer. Faces warped into agonized masks, mouths exhaling black smoke that writhed and twisted like snakes. Charming promises dripped from their lips, sweet and deceptive, thickening the air around them. "You can save us. You can join us. You can understand the pain together." "No." Sarah clenched her jaw. The darkness wasn't a friend. It was a parasite waiting for a chance to invade. "Mommy, please," Lily begged, tears streaming, catching the glow of the spectral light. "We need to go." Her voice echoed, full of youthful urgency and desperation. But just as they turned to flee, the ground beneath them heaved, ripping open like a wound. An abyss yawned, spewing malevolent whispers that entwined around their hearts. The tree loomed above, gnarly branches swaying as if breathing in their fear, eager to claim their spirits. Sarah's instincts roared for her to run. Yet an unseen force gripped her tightly, roots of the past anchoring her. She shook her head violently. No, we want to give in. We want to be part of this. But then she faltered. The voices twisted, luring her closer with dark memories she had buried long ago, lost loved ones calling her name. Pain she thought she had healed. Asking, pleading to be remembered. No, Sarah screamed, breaking the hold as she knelt to cup Lily's face, looking deep into her terrified eyes. I love you. We'll make it. Together. The ground beneath them trembled with escalating rage. Shadows pooled, forming more figures, their empty eyes boring into her, studying her resolve. What is the price? They hissed in unison, the air vibrating with their demands. Lily recoiled, but the shadows shifted closer, their breath brushing against Sarah's skin like icy fingers. Sacrifice or betrayal. Your choice, both are ours. The creatures taunted, their forms glimmering with insatiable hunger. Betrayal? The very word pierced Sarah's heart, forcing her to grapple with memories of guilt and loss. Every decision moving forward felt like a betrayal of its own, her fears, her past. She could feel her resolve dissolving with every heartbeat. We have to choose now, Lily cried, desperation escalating. Don't you see? One figure spoke, the dark glint in its hollow eyes glimmering with a sinister promise. We know you want to understand. We will open the door to your suffering. Just one small offering and we will spare you. Mommy! Lily's scream halted Sarah's thoughts, the innocence in her daughter's voice cutting through the haze. In that moment, the sinister beauty of the darkness began to unravel. They surged, claws outstretched, ready to ensnare. Go, Lily! Sarah yelled. But as Sarah pushed her daughter forward, she felt a sudden jolt as the shadows tightened their grip on her. Cold chains of despair locked around her wrists. The trees loomed, branches curling like vicious fingers around her body. Suddenly, a flash of determination ignited within her. Release us! She howled against the tumult of darkness, her defiance smashing against the weight of the void. But the shadows whispered back, what will you give? As Sarah glimpsed the abyss yawning before them, an agonizing realization crashed upon her. The choice was shaping into something even darker than she had imagined. Could she truly forsake everything or witness the shadow that would consume them all? And the whispers grew louder. What would she have to give to protect her daughter? With each agonizing heartbeat, Sarah faced the encroaching horror. But what if the cost was her very soul? Chains of shadow constricted Sarah's chest, squeezing until she gasped for breath. The whispers swirled around them, a symphony of despair, each one striking against her core. It turned her heart into lead, knotting her stomach with choking dread. She could focus only on Lily, cradling her daughter's face, their gazes locking in a moment where time stood still amidst the chaos. Mommy, don't let them take you, Lily whimpered, her voice trembling like a branch teetering in a storm. I want tea, I swear, Sarah replied, though her soul felt vulnerable beneath the weight of the shadows pressing in on her. Each moment extended into eternity, the darkness breathing, pulsating, hungry for a taste of fear. Suddenly, the figures lunged forward, a horde of distorted faces forming jagged edges, mouths stretching wide as if to swallow them whole. Instinct kicked in. With a surge of adrenaline, Sarah yanked Lily behind her, pushing them both backward. The flickering light of hope resembled a lighthouse, though the path wasn't clear. Run! Sarah shouted, tossing caution to the raging winds of despair. They darted toward the glow, but the ground shook violently, breaking the shell of reality beneath them. Vines screamed up from the earth, reaching out like serpents, their barbed edges desperate to snare them. Each vine that grasped her ankle sent electric jolts of fear coursing through her veins. Don't stop. Hold hands, she commanded. They stumbled forward, Lily's tiny fingers clutching tightly to her own, knuckles white with fear. Shadows flickered, reforming into the faces of lost friends and family, peers from her past. Each visage bore a twisted smile, mocking her attempts to escape. Join us, Sarah, they hissed. You'll never be free. No, you're wrong, she screamed, panic boiling within. The memory of her late sister's laughter surged forward, a flood of emotion that nearly made her falter. I remember you, but I want to be like you. The air around them thickened with chaos. The figures became more corporeal, their whispers blending with the howls of the abyss, fueling the storm. With every inch she gained towards the light, she felt tendrils of darkness digging deeper, clinging desperately. In that moment, time collapsed. A thought struck her like lightning, the knowledge that perhaps the only way to forge a way through these shadows was to confront them. Lily, close your eyes, she commanded again. Mommy, no, trust me, just listen. Nausea gripped her as she spun towards the swirling mass of terror, her heart pounding with fear and resolve. You want to take us. We're stronger than your whispers. The figures recoiled for an instant, their vile expressions shifting into something more sinister, more monstrous. Fear feeds us. Sarah, would you sacrifice your own to protect them? What have you left to hold on to? Her mind raced. Sacrifice. The word pricked at her like a thorn in the flesh. What would it mean? What would it cost? Could she pay a price that meant losing the very essence of who she was? Mommy! Lily cried, her small voice cutting through the din. Her wide eyes locked onto the spiraling darkness, shaking with indecision. Stop! Sarah yelled, desperation crafting her words into weapons. I will not let them rule us. We are not weak. We choose love. But with those words, the shadows pulsed violently, a smoky billow engulfing them. She felt its cold tendrils wrap like fingers around her throat, squeezing the breath from her lungs. Very well, the shadows murmured, amusement twisting their tones. Let us see if love holds more worth than fear. The ground beneath them groaned once more. The earth splitting as twisted roots burst forth, climbing through the cracks hungry for blood. Fear crashed over Sarah. She fumbled, her heart racing, and pulled Lily closer, staring into those innocent eyes. Would this be the moment she'd have to choose? Would she let the darkness in to save her child, or fight against an impending doom that loomed ever closer? As shadows coiled around them, tugging at her sanity, a final question echoed in the encroaching void. Who would she betray as the price emerged hauntingly close? But what if, just maybe, the darkness had something more sinister planned for both of them? The shadows lunged as if drawn by an unseen force, their jagged teeth ready to tear through the fabric of Sarah's resolve. She gritted her teeth, pulling Lily closer as they stumbled through the chaos. The air, thick with despair, seeped into her lungs like fog, suffocating her will. Mommy! Lily's voice quivered against the roar of shadows. With each step they took toward the flickering light, the chilling whispers grew louder, more insistent. The familiar faces twisted even further, transforming into grotesque masks of torment. You can't escape us, Sarah. You've already lost. Sweat dripped from Sarah's brow, heart hammering like a war drum. She felt their words pierce through her, found herself teetering on the precipice of surrender. No. Lily's grip tightened, instinctively sensing the shift within her mother. Focus on me, Lily. Just look at me, Sarah begged, her voice nearly swallowed by the cacophony surrounding them. The glow pulsed brighter, a beacon yearning for their arrival, yet the darkness writhed and twisted, eager to snuff out this fragile light. Sarah sensed an unnatural hunger lurking behind the shadows, a ravenous appetite feeding on their fear as they pressed on. Vines lashed out, seeking to ensnare them. One whisked around Lily's ankle, pulling the child to the ground. Panic surged through Sarah, her heart nearly exploding. Lily! No! Before the shadows could feast on her daughter, Sarah charged forward, yanking the vine with all her strength. The shriek of the darkness echoed in her ears as she refused to let go. Not now. Not ever. Get up. You have to run, she shouted, voice cracking like the ground beneath them. Mommy! Help! I can't. With a fierce determination, Sarah yanked her daughter free from the vine's grip and propelled them forward. Their path wound through a nightmare, a serpentine distance beset with clawing darkness and unyielding terror. They were racing against a tide that threatened to drown them, but love ignited a fire within her, an unquenchable blaze against the encroaching cold. Remember our game? You're the brave knight, and I'm your dragon, Sarah shouted instinctively. An idea sparked fight their fears with the power of imagination. Roar, Mommy! Lily giggled through her tears, the sound a fragile shield against their torment as they barreled toward the light, laughter intertwined with the terror, forming a fragile bond that shimmered against the bleakness. The shadows hesitated, momentarily stunned by the warmth of joy infiltrating their realm. Fear can't hold us forever, Sarah cried. We'll break free together. But the momentary reprieve shattered as the figures lunged again. You think love can save you? You'll pay dearly for this folly. Sarah felt the sickening weight of dread settle back into her bones. The vines lashed out wildly, striking her legs, pulling her down. For a flicker of a moment, despair tried to claw its way back in, wrapping around her heart like cold chains. Mommy, don't let them. I want tea, she gasped, fighting against the knot tightening in her throat. As the whispers surged back, insidiously echoing her worst fears, an idea struck her like a bolt of lightning. What if she hesitated, almost daring to speak? The shadows themselves were made of secrets of dark truths that we kept hidden. The thought chilled her. Could these apparitions represent the dangers they had buried deep within? No. Clenching her fists, she realized she wouldn't be trapped by her past. Lily, we have to confront them. We can't hide anymore. The shadows writhed at her words, enraged by her blatant defiance. Come closer and see what darkness truly holds, they hissed, beckoning with clawed hands dripping with malice. Heart pounding, breath quickening. Sarah took a step forward toward the vortex of shadows, dragging Lily along. I'm not afraid of you, she yelled. But deep down, she felt a flicker of uncertainty. Was this confrontation what they truly needed, or was she willingly walking into a trap, the ultimate darkness awaiting to swallow them whole? As the air crackled with tension, Sarah realized that the true horror lay ahead, deeper than any shadow it lurked in her own heart, ready to reveal the price of their escape. Would she unravel the truths buried within, or would the darkness use them to consume both mother and child? Sarah's heart raced as she crossed the threshold into the den of shadows, clasping Lily's small hand tightly in her own. The moment they entered, the air thickened, tightening around them like a noose. The darkness seemed to hum with an ancient energy, a malevolent force that clawed at the edges of her sanity. Stay close, Lily, she whispered urgently, her voice strained. But in the depths of her gut, she felt the weight of dread settle heavily. The shadows pulsed in time with her fear, an echoing heartbeat that drowned out reason. Whispers slithered through the air, slicing at her resolve. Reveal your truth, they hissed, their voices a sinister chorus. Each word twisted like a knife. Sarah clenched her fists, remembering the secrets buried deep inside wounds that festered in the corners of her mind, refusing to heal. Suddenly, the shadows surged, drawing closer, their clawed fingers extending like a dark tide. Face what you hide, Sarah. No, she screamed, trying to push back the encroaching dark. You don't control me. The light flickered in the distance, but it seemed impossibly far away now. Vines crept along the floor, snaking around her ankles, whispering demands that promised peace if she would only give in. They constricted slowly, like the grip of an anaconda, pulling her into the abyss. Mommy, I can't. Lily's voice trembled, barely audible over the cacophony. Fight, don't let them win, Sarah shouted, wrenching herself from the vine's grasp, pulling Lily free. We're knights, remember? Yes, knights, Lily echoed, her innocence a fragile shield against the encroaching black as they pressed forward. Sarah was struck by flashes of memory's dark secrets she'd locked away. Regrets, mistakes, the summer her brother disappeared. An abyss of guilt opened in her heart, and she realized those shadows were crafted from her failures. No more, Sarah shouted as she charged deeper into the swirling darkness. With every ounce of willpower, she met the shadows head-on. I see you. I know you, she yelled, defiance weaving through her words. The air crackled, the shadows recoiling momentarily, as if her admission of truth had pierced through their veil of terror. Lily gripped her mother's hand tighter, confusion blending with trust. Mommy, what are you doing? Sarah felt the shadows writhe beneath her words, and raged. "You can't hide from what you are," they shrieked. The grotesque faces morphed, intertwining with her nightmares, laughing, jeering at her vulnerability. Suddenly, the space around them spun wildly. The ground shifted beneath their feet. "What is happening?" Lily cried, terror and wonder blooming in her eyes. "I'm breaking the chains," Sarah insisted, forcing her memories to the forefront of her thoughts, raw, real, and unflinching. "You don't own me," the shadows shrieked, a primal roar echoing through the void. An intense wave of energy spiraled from Sarah, making the air tremble. The shadows recoiled, their forms melting away, revealing glimpses of their true nature, her fears, her guilt, all the pain she had locked inside, laid bare before them. "Mommy, please," Lily whimpered as the darkness swirled around them, ensnaring her in a tempest of despair. Then Sarah felt it, the flicker of hope. "No, we're stronger together. You've always been my light." In that moment, Sarah summoned the last remnants of courage. With a deafening cry, she extended her hand, pulling forward every ounce of love she possessed. The shadows screamed, their forms beginning to fracture against the brilliance of her heart. "Love always conquers," she roared. But just as the last shadow began to fade, a chilling realization crashed over her. Something deeper was still watching, lurking behind the veil of darkness. Something far more malevolent, waiting patiently, hungry for the chaos to stop. Would the ultimate darkness emerge now, just as they seemed on the cusp of freedom? Or would the truth Sarah had unearthed grant them the strength to face whatever lay ahead? The last vestige of darkness roared in defiance as Sarah and Lily pushed against the weight of despair. Shadows writhed around them, echoing their own thoughts and fears. But Sarah felt an unstoppable force surge within her, a wild flame igniting her spirit. "We are more than this," she shouted, grounding herself in the reality of her daughter's love. "Stay with me, Lily." The warmth of her daughter's hand fueled her resolve. The light ahead shimmered like a distant star, inviting them to break free from the torment that clawed at their backs. "We can do this." Sarah clasped Lily's hand tighter, an unyielding grip that tethered them together in the storm of chaos as they ran. The shadows lunged but faltered, recoiling as though they could sense the change. "Love is a weapon." The words escaped Sarah's lips like a battle cry. Still, deep in the recesses of that darkness, something sinister lurked, ready to strike. "Mommy, they're trying to pull me," Lily gasped, struggling against a tendril slithering around her leg. Panic surged in Sarah's chest. Her instincts screamed at her to protect her child at all costs. "I got you," she growled, pulling with everything she had. They burst through a wall of flickering shadows, the light growing brighter, but Sarah could feel the sinister presence lurking behind them like a wolf waiting for its moment. With each step forward, shadows lashed out, but they couldn't penetrate the cocoon of love that surrounded Sarah and Lily. "We're stronger than you," Sarah shouted defiantly, a primal roar rising through her. The light pulsed in response, swirling like a whirlwind, enveloping them in warmth. In that moment, the shadows began to falter, melting against the brilliance like ice under a blazing sun. They spun around the two, dissipating into a mist. "Mommy, look," Lily pointed. The shadows started to transform into faces, not just terrifying visages but people real and familiar. Friends, neighbors, the faces of those Sarah had lost in the depths of her past. Breaths caught in their throats, eyes full of sorrow and fear. "Remember us," one whispered, a mournful plea that broke Sarah's heart. This was the darkness that had grown in her absence, the pain she had buried. And yet, the truth ignited something fierce within her. "I do remember," Sarah cried, strength flooding her voice. "And I won't forget again." The faces of the lost shimmered, their energy fueling the flickering light around them. "Help them," they urged, their voices entwining with the chaos, revealing a way forward. "Mommy?" Lily's voice trembled, but her small fingers tightened around Sarah's hand. "What do we do?" "Together we set them free." Unleashing a surge of courage, Sarah stepped closer, leading Lily in a circle. They drew upon the love between them and the bonds of those who had also suffered. "Let go of your pain," she proclaimed, turning her gaze to the faces around her. "You are not forgotten. Your memories live in us." The shadows recoiled, flaring against their proclamation, but the interconnected energy surged, binding them together. A thrilling warmth flooded the space, enveloping the lost souls, igniting their chains with the flames of truth and acceptance. The darkness screamed, a cacophony of rage and sorrow swirling as the lost began to break free, each spirit shimmering like glittering confetti scattering into the air. "We will remember," the spirits echoed in a harmonious chorus, their grief transforming into something lighter, a peaceful surrender. With a final surge of light, the shadows shrieked and imploded, twisting and shattering against the brilliance. Together Sarah murmured, her voice steady and resolute, "We return to the light." And just like that, the storm of darkness collapsed in upon itself, swallowed by the surge of love and acceptance. The warmth of their connection enveloped them, and suddenly, all was quiet. The air felt different, lighter, as sunlight broke through the remnants of despair, illuminating their path. Sarah blinked against the new dawn, eyes widening as the daylight washed over them, brightening the world. They were back at home, the living room now bathed in the golden hues of morning sunlight. "It's over, sweetheart," Sarah whispered, pulling Lily close, relief flooding through her veins. "Mommy, we did it," Lily exclaimed, age-old fear lifting. The echoes of the night lingered, but with them came a feel of liberation. "I love you," Sarah said, heart swelling with gratitude as she kneeled to embrace her daughter, savoring the warmth of connection. "And I promise we'll keep our memories alive. No more shadows." As they sat together, the weight of the past began to ease. Sarah could hear the faint whispers of the lost, echoing in the corners of her heart. But now there was joy woven into the tapestry of memory, a bittersweet reminder of the strength they had discovered. "Let us plant a garden, Mommy, just like Mrs. Jenkins," Lily chirped, tugging at Sarah's hand. "Yes," Sarah agreed, a smile breaking through the remnants of fear. A garden of joy, hope, and memories. Together, they stepped into the light, ready to face the future, fortified against the shadows of despair. Because Sarah knew now that love was the strongest bond of all. This is a story where light triumphed over darkness. And as they prepared to cultivate their garden, the whispers of the past turned into the gentle rustling of leaves, each secret a part of their shared journey. No longer feared but embraced, glowing brightly in the sunlight. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans understand your support is crucial.